Patton Sports Videocast is brought to you by Snap Laces. Snap Laces' elite lacing system was designed for world-class athletes. They come in hundreds of color combinations so you can perform well and look great at the same time. Buy a set online today by clicking through the top image on mopattonsports.com. I want to welcome you into Patton Sports Videocast as we go into Week 7 of the Mid-State High School football season. I'm Maurice Patton along with Kevin Smith, and we're finally starting to see some matchups that mean something, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of district play, or region play. I feel like TSWA keeps switching it on us, so we'll get it right eventually. But a lot of good games.
And right about the time you get it right, they'll switch it again.
That's exactly right. And the playoff format as well. But it's a good time, part of the season when you're kind of in conference play. And these games matter. And a lot of conferences we're seeing, and we'll touch on later in the video cast, if you don't come to play, you're going to lose, and if you lose, you get behind to where you might be sitting at home for the playoffs.
Yeah, we've kind of touched on that phenomenon a little bit in the podcast earlier this week, and we're going to see that particularly in some of these conferences. We're going to start out big matchup Friday night. Brentwood Academy goes over to Ensworth, and this is always a knockdown drag out in Division II AA. Ensworth back-to-back wins for the first time all season. They're coming in 3-3. Brentwood Academy off this past weekend, but they are 4-1 and 2-0 in the region, so big matchup.
Yeah, and I think Ensworth, with a young team that's building this year, I think that win against CPA is going to give them a lot of confidence and give them something to build on as they're hitting a home stretch here with some really tough games with NBA and BA and those type of teams. BA is so talented. They got some really good players, Mo, and they got 3 offensive linemen / defensive linemen that are committed to SEC schools. Jeremiah Osfall at quarterback that we absolutely love. We think he's a fantastic athlete, can make plays with his legs and his arm. And a Cameron Johnson, who's so explosive at the wide receiver position. But Ensworth's kind of been their nemesis over the years, where Ensworth finds a way to beat them. And I think this is a BA team that needs to come out, and they need to prove a point this Friday night that we're here and that we really want to make a run here to win a state championship.
And whatever Ensworth does is going to be based around Darius Moorhead, who had a really big game. You were over at that CPA game, 32 carries, 158 yards, and a couple of touchdowns there in the second half.
Yeah, and I was also pleased to see him out on defense. He actually played a little bit more on defense than he normally does. Played a little bit of corner, a little bit of safety. I was really impressed with Jalen King. Had a really nice catch on an interception to kind of turn that game, the tide in the second half. And I think Rodney Owens is a really good player. I think he's a guy with instincts that's playing in the back for them at safety. So I think, both teams have some really good skill players. To me, it's going to come down to which line can kind of take over, which offensive line, defensive line can kind of take over this football game. And can Ensworth throw it enough to keep BA off balance to score points?
But another game we want to take a look at, Clarksville and Centennial in Region 7-5A. Clarksville just took one on the chin, their first one, as they lost to Henry County at home, 28-0. And Centennial was off this past weekend, but they've been rolling. Their only blemish so far was a tough loss against Independence, but they've bounced back from that.
Yeah, and I think this is a really kind of a perfect spot for Centennial to kind of get healthy again. Get Terrell some rest. Dotson, a great linebacker there, Texas A&M commit at Centennial. Just get overall their team they had a tough stretch there too of some really big games where they needed some rest. For Clarksville, starting off the season undefeated, Mo, and then bam, you get Henry County and Centennial back-to-back, 2 physical football teams with great defenses. This is kind of a really tough stretch for Clarksville to try to keep their confidence and not take it on the chin again with Centennial, because Centennial is going to bring a lot of defensive heat on them.
Yeah, trying to regather themselves after that tough loss. They managed less than 200 offensive yards, held down on in the run game in particular, which was kind of where they had made their money so far. So for them to try to get it back on the road against what's been a pretty tough Centennial defense, going to be a challenge for Clarksville. Another game we want to take a look at, and we don't touch a whole lot on the small schools, or we haven't, but this is a heck of a ball game here. Forest goes over to Watertown in a Region 4 2A game. Both of them coming in 5-1, 2-0 in their region.
Yeah, and we've touched on Page quite a bit, and I'll explain why we're even bringing up Page. But Page has been a surprise to us in 4A, and they've continued to win and really had a chance to win Friday night against BGA. Some people think that they got in for the 2-point conversion. But Forest hung right there with them. And this is a team, Forest is a team that's going to run it right at you. They're going to try to pound you with the football. They're well coached. They do a really good job. And they've played some higher level division teams very tough. So this is going to be a good ball game for the small schools.
Forest lost to Page 14-12. Watertown's only loss was to Davidson Canopy, 52-26. So these teams have put up some points. They've been pretty explosive. I'll tell you a couple of guys to look out for in this game. For Forest, tailback linebacker Slayton Wild. For Watertown, receiver cornerback Fonte Bates is a kid who has made some plays for them, and I think are going to be a couple of guys that impact this ball game. Gallatin goes to Beach, big Region 6-5A game, and we've talked a lot about that region because it's really intriguing what's going on over there. Everybody's 2-1 looks like.
Yeah, I think it's a very tough region. It's the type of region we were just discussing that if you take a night off and you lose, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball and could possibly sit at home for the playoffs. I'm really intrigued by this matchup, Mo. We got really 3 or 4 really good tailbacks, and Beach has Roderick Napper, and we got Jordan Mason at Gallatin. Both guys, man, I was watching film on them last night, Mo, and man, I'm really impressed with these guys. They got a juke ability. They're fast. They got explosive power. This is going to be a fantastic ball game. If you like to watch the running game, teams that rush the football, I think you're going to get a lot of that Friday night. And really, it's a tough game to pick.
Beach has also got Austin Van Zant, who's been there forever and kind of waited his turn behind Jalen Hurd and the Carter kid a couple of years ago, who's up at Tennessee Tech now. And so they kind of come at you with the double-headed attack there with Napper and Van Zant. Mason gets the bulk of the carries for Gallatin. And as we were saying on the podcast the other day, if you go to this one, you better get there quick because there may not be 10 passes between the two teams.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It could be a really quick ball game. Another guy that I really like from Gallatin, I don't know if people know about, is Desmond Chambers, a guy who had an 82-yard kickoff return for a touchdown last week. A dynamic player, a skilled player at the receiver, cornerback position. When he gets the ball in open space, he's exciting to watch. So a kid to look out for Gallatin. That if, Beach last week showed us you can win with special teams with 3 blocked punts in the first half. They better be ready for a Desmond Chambers returning kicks this week because he can beat them on the flip side with their Gallatin's special teams.
And Beach really kind of had a late surge last week against Cane Ridge. 2 weeks ago against Cane Ridge, where they got down early, came back and beat those guys 31-28. So they're a team that's not out of it. Gallatin has some big playability with the Chambers kids. Should be an interesting ball game. In Region 3-6A, you've got McGavock going to Ravenwood. Ravenwood coming off an open week. McGavock won a big game at Overton last week, 20-17 in overtime.
Yeah, another intriguing matchup that I'm anxious to kind of see how this plays out. McGavock's got a lot of good players and a quarterback that can run and throw. They got some good skill position players and a good running game, fly around on defense. It comes back to, are they going to commit silly penalties? If they can stay away from that and have good special teams play, they got a really good chance here in this game. And they got to find a way to make somebody besides Chris Rowland beat them. They get Chris Rowland, take him out of the game as far as don't let him beat you in different ways that Ravenwood puts him out there. And that will give McGavock a chance because Chris Rowland is a special high school football player. I hope we see him playing on the next level, but you got to check him out.
I like what McGavock did defensively against Overton last week. They really held them down in the run game. And you talk about taking a guy out, they may be able to do that. I think they've got the athletes where they could do that. What happens, though, is then Ravenwood turns around and gives it to Connor Jeffries and lets him pound on you, and then all of a sudden opens Rowland up.
Yeah, and we've seen Coach Hester and his staff. They do a really good job of moving players around, getting Chris Rowland in different spots. Another special teams guy. If you let him return kicks and you give him some open space, you give him one little crease, he's going to take it to the house. So it's going to be hard to kind of get him completely out of the game plan, but Ravenwood's done a good job of moving their guys around and finding ways to score.
Going to be interesting. It looks like Andrew Rapea is going to be a game-time decision for Ravenwood, sitting out with the ankle injury. So whether or not he's going to be back could be a big factor in this matchup. We've talked about DeMontez Carlton for McGavock. Nice run-pass threat for them. So quarterback situation kind of interesting for both those squads.
Well, in this region, we're discussing conferences / regions is what we've been talking about is whoever wins this game becomes the sole possession of number one seed in that region. And in my opinion, that's a huge bonus when you're getting towards the playoffs with their schedules that are left. So you want that game up. So whoever wins this game is going to have a game up on the second place team. So this is a huge region matchup Friday night with the top two teams in that region.
John Mayer Builders proudly sponsors Mo Patton Sports Videocast. With over 1,500 homes built in Middle Tennessee, John Mayer Builders knows the importance of families and communities. They have numerous business awards to their credit, proving that John Mayer Builders is built to win. Like them on Facebook. John Mayer Builders, our reputation is building. At National Playmakers Academy, developing NPA athletes comes in threes. NPA develops its student athletes' academic, social, and football-specific skills. Next, NPA develops them for better exposure today, recruitment tomorrow, and college education through scholarships for the rest of their lives. We are proud of the outstanding athletes we have developed. We are more proud of the college graduates we have prepared. Work with National Playmakers Academy for developing gifted athletes into productive citizens. Great teams have talent. They also have the necessary tools for success. BSN Sports delivers these tools whether your team needs uniforms, apparel, or athletic equipment to achieve greatness. Just like a winning teammate, BSN Sports is there for you. Their unmatched service ensures that you have best-in-class equipment for championship-level performance, plus uniforms and athletic apparel from the best brands in the industry to look your best when hoisting your trophy. Logo My Logo continually beats the competition by 3 points. Service, expertise, selection. Beyond promotional products, Logo My Logo delivers incredible service to its clients. Their service is only matched by their marketing expertise in presenting their clients in the most professional light. Logo My Logo's broad selection means that their clients have multiple options to communicate their brand strongly. Premier marketing solutions require service, expertise, and selection. And Logo My Logo keeps finding a way to win by those 3 points. Kevin, big matchup in Region 2 6A. Smyrna goes to Blackman. Blackman coming off a big win up at Cookeville. Smyrna coming off of a pretty significant win at Siegel last week, their first win against a Murfreesboro team in 14 tries. And we kind of talked about, as Blackman went to Cookeville last week, whether or not Cookeville was really ready for prime time. This might be that same type ball game for Smyrna, I think.
Yeah, both teams with good running games. Smyrna does a pretty good job of mixing it up with their play action pass and getting the ball out, on bubbles and screens. Two really good running backs in this football game with Casey Perkins from Smyrna, who went off last week for 4 touchdowns, and a guy we've talked about all year who is just continuing to carry the load, and Taylor Dowdy at Blackman, who also doubles up as one of their top corners in tough situations on defense. This is another really intriguing matchup with two teams that can smash mouth you but also play pretty good defense. So it could come down to a turnover, special teams play here and there on who's going to win this football game.
And they've both been known to do that. Smyrna comes in undefeated in region play. Blackman's only loss in the region is to Oakland. This one may not necessarily have the impact of a McGavick-Ravenwood game like you talked about, but both these teams are going to have a say in who finishes in the top half of that region over there.
Yeah, and if you're Blackman, you don't want to go another game back if you lose this ball game to Smyrna. So it's a pretty significant game for them. And if you're thinking about Blackman, man, talk about their schedule. I mean, unbelievable week in and week out who they've had to play. They're battle tested, and I think that's really going to help them in the playoffs because of all the tough teams they have played. Again, I think it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a tough one to pick. But I think it's a good football game for if you're looking for a game on Friday night, this is one you should go see.
And you talk about Blackman and their schedule. I think the good thing about it is they've relatively survived that schedule, and now they're kind of at the backside of it and ready to kind of build up some momentum heading to the postseason where everybody in 6A goes.
Yeah, and I think Coach Watson would tell you they're playing really well on defense. Their running game is solid. They're proving that week in and week out. I think he's looking for a little bit more consistency in their pass game, get Miller Armstrong going a little bit more play action pass. And if they can get that going, they're going to be super dangerous.
Another game with this bunch out here, we're over at Battleground Academy in case you hadn't figured it out. The Wildcats are getting ready for a matchup with Davidson Academy. BGA, we referred to their game last week a little bit ago. They outlasted Page out at Page 28-7 in overtime in a game where Page's 2-point conversion attempt may or may not have been stopped, depending on who you ask, but the official said it was. But Davidson, I think their only loss was their opener against Friendship Christian, and got a nice quarterback, Kyle Gilbert, that you're a little familiar with.
Yeah, I really like Kyle Gilbert. I had a chance to see him all summer at National Playmakers Academy, and just a young man that works extremely hard. And really, Mo, he's a fantastic receiver, and he has an offer to Tusculum as a slot receiver, but he's one of their best players on their team. He's taken the call to go to quarterback, and he's doing a really good job. And he's a run-pass threat. He's a guy that can really hit the hole in a hurry. He can make plays with his feet, and he can throw the football. So he's a dangerous guy that a defensive coordinator is going to have to stay up late at night and keep tabs on.
Gives you a little bit of a different look at quarterback from what Davidson had last year when they had Dakota Quinn, big 6'7" kid who signed a basketball scholarship with Samford. So a little different back there. But looks like Jonathan Quinn, the coach over there, and Dakota's dad, has done a pretty good job kind of adapting their offense to what Kyle does. Meanwhile, BGA's quarterback, Clay Beathard, is the returning Mr. Football Back of the Year in Division 2A, and everything that they do offensively revolves around him.
Yeah, and he's another just really good high school football player to come out and watch. He makes plays with his feet and his arm as well. And a guy that kind of likes to move around in the pocket when it breaks down and look downfield to make a play. Not necessarily trying to run as quick as he can to get a first down. He likes to make plays and throw bombs over the top. And another kid that really hasn't been mentioned a whole lot that I've seen now for 3 years and I'm really impressed with is the safety, Terrell Webster. The young man can flat out play football, comes downhill at the safety position, makes really fundamental tackles, and then can also make plays when you pass the ball downfield. Another young man that really is a fun player to watch and a guy that's going to have a big impact in this game. He
likes to lay the wood. Yeah. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Steve Atwater, the old Denver Broncos safety. I like watching him play too. When Beathard puts it up, typically it's to Marcus Cawthorn, but he found another target last week, a freshman, Jalen Frierson, 7 catches, 144 yards, and caught the touchdown in overtime that ultimately won the ball game. So we've talked a little bit about them needing to come up with something else besides Beathard to Cawthorn. We were thinking it would be in the run game. They've come up with a secondary receiver option.
Yeah, and they also have Patrick Wells that they like to get the ball to, but it was good to see that for them to find another playmaker to take a little bit of pressure off that. And he's a good-looking young man. We're out here at practice today and just watching him move around. Good-looking football player that's got obviously a bright future ahead of him as a freshman. And think about that, Mo, a freshman catching the touchdown game winner in overtime. What a huge play and a boost of confidence for that young man as they're trying to get down to the stretch run here. And they feel like they want to, they feel like they can make a run to a state championship game again, like they did last year. So good to get him confidence and get him going.
It's nice when you can get those young guys coming in and making contributions like that. Another game we want to take a look at, CPA coming off that loss at Ensworth, goes over to Stratford in a Region 5 3A game.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough matchup for Stratford. One, just because CPA does just such a good job with their players and coaching staff, and they're used to winning. But two, now that coaching staff has a little bit of their ear and able to coach them up a little bit more this week after a loss and might be feeling a little upset about that loss. So this is where Stratford cannot turn the ball over. They cannot turn it over early and let CPA get on a roll with their offense. They need to make sure they control the clock with their run game and find a way to get their playmakers the ball in space and make big plays on offense.
And they got to find some kind of way to get some pressure on Zach Weatherly when they're on defense. Zach was a little off his game against Ensworth last week, threw a pick. I think it was his first one of the year, and wasn't particularly sharp in the second half, didn't sound like.
Yeah, and Ensworth had a lot to do with that. They had some linebackers that were flying around. But, another key with Zach is you don't want to let him get out of the pocket either. A guy that will move around in the pocket and look deep, but when he does take off, he can score. And so you got to be very careful and make sure you pick your spots when you do want to bring pressure on Zach. Make sure he doesn't get loose and start running around and scoring touchdowns and making first downs.
A couple of games in Region 5-5A. Lincoln County goes to Shelbyville. Independence goes to Stewart's Creek. Shelbyville and Independence play next week. They're both undefeated in that region, so kind of a appetizer for next week.
Yeah, both teams are really good. We really like Shelbyville, and we also really like Independence, two teams that we think should take care of business this week. Shelbyville's got some playmakers, and so does Independence. So both teams need to make sure that they're not looking ahead, and both teams need to make sure that they're working on themselves, their fundamentals, and continuing to get better at what they do so that they can be ready for their stretch run.
You know, you'd think that both those teams are going to come into that game undefeated, but again, Lincoln County, I saw a few weeks ago over at Independence, and they've got some pieces. Little left-handed quarterback Eli Eason who can throw it around and make some plays, and Stewart's Creek with David Martin in his third year at that program, they have really made an impact and made some strides. And so if Independence goes in their half step, and they could have some problems.
Yeah, and Lincoln County, just has to find a way to stop Shelbyville's offense. If they can do that and cause some turnovers, it's going to be a close ball game, and you can always win. Flip side for Independence, they got to get ready for Wing T. Again, something that we've discussed over and over again that is very difficult to get ready for with 3-4 days of practice. So neither team can look over the opponent that they're playing right now for that big showdown, or they're going to lose. And right now, you just don't want that at this point in the season.
We've talked about Andrew Bunch, the quarterback for Independence. He's missed the last 3 ball games with an elbow injury. I communicated with Scott Blade earlier today via text. I didn't actually talk to him. But looks like Andrew is going to be a game-time decision as to whether or not he's able to go, and we've talked about that situation. Adam Swayze has led them to wins in each of these last 3 games, so they feel comfortable regardless of what happens with that.
Yeah, and I would look forward to getting Andrew back out there. It's his senior year. He's a really good football player. Another guy that we hope to see on the next level, and we should see on the next level. But you want to see him play his senior year, and really you want to see Independence at their strength, and we want to see the best teams playing with their best players. And to get him back would be great for Independence and great for them to start, getting back together again. I mean, you think all the time he's missed is timing on routes. I mean, that's just little things like handing the football off, taking snaps, little things that he needs to get back in the flow of before they go to the playoffs.
Mo Patton Sports Videocast is brought to you by Snap Laces. Snap Laces' elite lacing system was designed for world-class athletes. They come in hundreds of color combinations so you can perform well and look great at the same time. Buy a set online today by clicking through the top image on mopattonsports.com. Great teams have talent. They also have the necessary tools for success. BSN Sports delivers these tools whether your team needs uniforms, apparel, or athletic equipment to achieve greatness. Just like a winning teammate, BSN Sports is there for you. Their unmatched service ensures that you have best-in-class equipment for championship-level performance, plus uniforms and athletic apparel from the best brands in the industry to look your best when hoisting your trophy. The law practice of Allen D. Hall, PLC is grounded in providing exceptional legal services with the utmost trust and integrity. Legal services Allen provides include employment law, confidential investigations, general business law, risk management, and regulatory policy interpretation and drafting. Ultimately, if you need consulting solutions, Allen D. Hall needs to be your choice. I would like to tell you about Kevin Smith, broker of Southwestern Real Estate, and his team. They're getting top dollar for every listing, most of the time 98 to 100% of the asking price. Their Smart Seller program has flexible commission structures and leaves you the option to pay 0% in commissions. If you're thinking of selling your home, their Smart Seller program is a must. Not happy? You can fire them at any time with their easy exit listing guarantee. All this makes working with Southwestern Real Estate a no-brainer. Don't miss out. Check them out online at southwesternrealestatenashville.com or call them directly at 615-973-6047. Kevin, we talked a little bit about Henry County. They've got Rossview coming to their place this weekend. Rossview coming off a big win in that region over Dixon County.
Yeah, and Henry County is a tough place to play, and we talked about that.
It's a tough place to get to.
That's right, and really a place, though, you should go if you can. They're a great host, great atmosphere for a high school football game, but a really hard place to win, and I learned my lesson a couple weeks ago to not pick against Henry County at home, and this is going to be a tough game for Rossview because Henry County is playing some really good defense, and really Rossview needs to score points, and so this could be a tough matchup for them.
Henry County did not give up a point in September. 4 straight shutouts. I'm impressed as I'll get out over that. Rossview got a quarterback in over the offseason, Jordan Justice, who has really had an impact on them. They like to throw it around, which is kind of the strength of Henry County's defense. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Another game in Region 3-6A, kind of the undercard maybe Overton goes to Mount Juliet, and we've seen Mount Juliet kind of start to surge back after their 0-3 start, and they've won their last couple of games.
Yeah, and Coach Perry has been kind of touching on in some of his interviews that they were a little bit young, a couple of guys who were green, that they just needed some reps. And that Ravenwood game we've kind of touched on when they went to overtime with them was kind of it's hard to say a confidence booster when you lose, but it was a confidence booster for their team at that time, where it kind of got them going and showed them they can play with anybody. On the flip side, Overton's a team that we really like, a team full of some players that a lot of people don't know about. Kind of had a little hiccup there last week where they couldn't throw the ball with Julius King, which was a little shocking to us. But kind of a game they need to get back and get going again offensively.
And Mount Juliet really likes Joey Hayes at quarterback, the way he's played here these last few weeks. And like you said, Julius kind of had an off night throwing the ball last week against McGavick. So, again, kind of watching the quarterbacks for both teams in this one.
And hopefully Kimberly North is back for Overton, the running back. We hope he's back from injury. And Mount Juliet, I hope they've been practicing their open field tackling, because Overton's got some guys who can really make some plays out in the open field. So Mount Juliet's going to have to do a really good job of keeping Overton in front of them and not letting them get loose for big touchdowns.
And while King did struggle, the one pass he did hit was a 47-yarder down the sideline to Theo Jackson. So when you talk about open field tackling and keeping folks in front of you, if they do hit one, it could go big with those receivers they've got. They've also got Elijah Pankey, who you've talked a lot about. So while they struggled last week, they've been pretty good, and they could put it back together Friday over at Mount Juliet. I want to talk about last week's games and kind of go over our picks, I guess. You all right with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Blackman went over to Cookeville. I think we both kind of saw Blackman taking that one and taking control of that one, and they won it 49-28.
Yeah, Blackman did a good job jumping out early with good defense and a good running game. Let's give Cookeville credit. They were down 21-0. They came back and made it 21-14. Then Blackman kind of took over again, but good win for Blackman on the road.
Okay. CPA at Ainsworth. We might have underestimated the home team in that one.
Yeah, and again, it shows the power of Division II AA. We had two teams in JP2 and Ainsworth go in and beat teams that a lot of people think are going to be in the state championship game. It shows kind of how good that league is. And I want to reiterate again, great job of the coaching staff at Ainsworth for sticking with their game plan and being patient, and it rewarded them with their kids executing.
Henry County at Clarksville. You learned your lesson, right?
Oh, yeah. we both figured Henry County would, again, take care of business. Not only is their defense playing well, but they've moved some young kids around on offense that, again, were a little green, and now they're getting experience, and they're really making plays.
Hillsborough at Cane Ridge.
Shocking. This is the kind of the team we like. Cane Ridge. We think they're a good football team. Come in 0-2 in the region, and that kind of shows you again that region right there is where if you take a night off, you could lose, and you don't watch out, you could go from 1 to 5 just off of one Friday night. So tough game for Hillsborough after really dominating Hendersonville. They got to get back on track this week and learn how to not get too jacked up for some games and then overlook other games.
Hillsborough dropped that one 21-14, and again, as you said, Cane Ridge is a good ball club. They've done a great job over there, but we haven't seen Hillsborough. We just kind of expected them to go over there and take care of business, and we saw what happens when you don't go in fully focused. McGavick Overton, we both had the home team in that one.
Yeah, and we thought it would be a good ball game, and it was. The elements kind of played a little bit in there with some turnovers and that kind of thing, and I don't know if either coach thought their team played particularly well, but great job of McGavick. They had a kicker that did a nice job, Ethan Evers, that kicked a 18-yarder and a 20-yarder in overtime, or to tie it and then to win it in overtime. So good job of getting their kicking game in the elements to help them win a football game, and a huge win that now put them at the top of the region with Ravenwood.
Also in that region, Wilson Central and Mount Juliet. We both had Mount Juliet taking care of business, and they did 30-3.
Yeah, and again, a great win for Mount Juliet as they're kind of getting going here in the season, and they needed that. So kind of as they're trying to make their stretch run and get their young players some reps and confidence, big win versus a kind of a county rival there.
Okay. So that brings us to this week's picks, and we'll start up with Brentwood Academy and Ainsworth.
Yeah, I think right now BA is a machine that's hard to stop. While Ainsworth is kind of a thorn in their side, if you look at the numbers and you look at the roster right now, you got to pick BA just based off paper, and I think that you got to pick your spots versus Jeremy Osfall. Make sure that you don't you don't let him get loose too much.
Brentwood Academy is averaging 44 points a game. They can throw them up quick. I don't know if they'll get 44 this week, but I think they should be able to handle Innsworth. Obviously, the Tigers aren't ready to roll over and play dead just yet, but that should be a heck of a matchup, I think. Clarksville comes out to Centennial.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Centennial here. Terrell Dotson is a great leader, a great football player, defensive, just a great defensive linebacker on defense. I think Centennial's defense is going to be way too much for them, and I think the coaching staff at Centennial has done a great job, even with injuries, of finding ways to get their offense going and scoring points.
They really have kind of cobble things together over there on offense with bubblegum and chicken wire, but they've managed to keep it together and get to 5-1, and I like them in this one as well. Again, Clarksville have been scoring a lot of points before they ran into Henry County, and they're kind of out of the frying pan into the fire here with Centennial, I think. I really think they kind of feel like they've got something to prove as they continue to get away from that Independence game that they had a few weeks ago. Forest and Watertown.
Yeah, I like Forest. Again, Forest beat a Page team last year that we really liked this year and hung with them this year when they lost 14-12. I think the coach staff down there does a good job. They know who they are. They know what they want to do offensively, and they play sound defense. So I like Forest.
I like the Rockets on the road in this one as well. Gallatin Beach.
Yeah, a really tough game to pick, but I'm going to go with Beach. I just think they do a good job offensively. It's a wing tee that's hard to get prepared for, and I like the role that Beach is getting on. I think they're doing a good job with their special teams, kind of getting some confidence amongst their team as well.
You know, we got to find a game that we disagree on, but it won't be this one. I like Beach's tradition. They have a way of playing tough and winning close ball games, and I like them particularly at home against Gallatin in this one. McGavick Ravenwood.
Yeah, I'm good. Man, this is a tough one, really. You know, sometimes my gut tells me McGavick, my head tells me Ravenwood, but I'll have to go with Ravenwood just for the mere fact I think it's going to be really hard to shut down Chris Rowland, and I think Ravenwood's defense is deep enough that they can contain McGavick in the long run. I think it's going to be a really close ball game and an entertaining ball game.
I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think Ravenwood defensively will force a couple of turnovers at some point that will swing this game. I like Ravenwood at home in this one, even if it's the backup quarterback, McCain Marrow, going to the post in this one. John Mayer Builders proudly sponsors Mo Patton Sports Videocast. With over 1,500 homes built in Middle Tennessee, John Mayer Builders knows the importance of families and communities. They have numerous business awards to their credit, proving that John Mayer Builders is built to win. Like them on Facebook. John Mayer Builders, our reputation is building. At National Playmakers Academy, developing NPA athletes comes in threes. NPA develops its student athletes' academic, social, and football-specific skills. Next, NPA develops them for better exposure today, recruitment tomorrow, and college education through scholarships for the rest of their lives. We are proud of the outstanding athletes we have developed. We are more proud of the college graduates we have prepared. Work with National Playmakers Academy for developing gifted athletes into productive citizens. Smyrna Blackman, Kevin, who you like?
Yeah, I like Blackman in this one. Again, we've touched on Taylor Dally. We think he's a great player, and they've really got their run game going. But we think it's going to be a great game, and part of that is I think Smyrna has something to prove after they didn't come out and play as well as they thought they should have against Independence. And this is a game they need to show everybody that they're for real and they've got a chance to make a run as well. But I really like Blackman in this matchup.
I think Smyrna's got a chance to make a run regardless, but I like Blackman in this one as well. But like you said, Dowdy, Armstrong, the way they get behind that offensive line, I just think they take this one when it's all said and done. That'll get you through week 7 of the Mid-State High School football season. For Kevin Smith, I'm Maurice Patton. We'll see you at the ballgame.